The biggest thing you have to know about taking your brand national is that is really two things. One is that marijuana is still illegal at the federal level, as we all know. And although having a national company doesn't, implicate any of the federal government's law enforcement priorities that they've outlined in the Cole memo, which sort of created this federal policy of tolerance, no one really knows how the federal government is going to treat a national or an international marijuana company when marijuana is still nationally illegal. And so the second takeaway, though, is, the more practical takeaway is that each state that we have 30 some odd states have some form of marijuana laws, whether it's a high CBD bill, a medical marijuana bill, or legal marijuana for all adults. Each one of these states has a different set of laws, and these different set of laws create unique challenges for companies who want to create a national brand. And they have to be flexible, and they have to look at each state on its own in terms of how can they advertise, what sort of labeling and packaging is there, how can they even structure this deal, can they have a wholly owned subsidiary, or can they have a licensing arrangement, or how do they get paid through the licensing arrangement. All of these sort of scenarios differ by state. And so, really the number one key to creating a national brand is to really, to get into the nuances of each state law and make sure your plan works for that state. And once you sort of successfully conquered a state, then focus on the next one.
If you asked me what the best advice would be for folks, I would mention several things. Partnership is important, of course. And then how you treat those partners is just as important. So for example, our licensees have an opportunity to earn equity in O.penVape. And the structure of O.penVape is important to allow for that. So O.penVape is a company that does not touch cannabis. It's the technology, and it's sold to licensees that do. That therefore allows us to share some equity in case there's an event, and we are very intentionally marching towards one in a couple of years that they can share in. And that incentivizes them. They're not going to go away, or they're less likely to go away and try to compete with us if they know they're part of the big plan.
Licensing is by far the most popular arrangement for a brand going national. But some folks have taken it a step farther than licensing. They said, look, in Oregon, there's no residency restrictions, and so I'm just going to open up a subsidiary in Oregon as opposed to licensing it to someone who I may or may not trust or I may or may not know. But in general, it's really the licensing arrangement that is the most popular. And there's specific pitfalls with that arrangement, and there's specific pitfalls with every arrangement. But I think, in light of the fact that you can't have a national distribution network, the licensing arrangement does make sense.
The number one pitfall to avoid is to not get stuck in the weeds with all the wonderful opportunities, and to focus. Pick something that's a niche that you can be first in class in, and say no to every other opportunity until you achieve your goal with that. There's so much opportunity in this industry. It's so young that everything looks like an opportunity. So it takes discipline, but I think it's good advice.